Welcome to WriterCon, a gathering place for writers to share their knowledge about writing and the writing world. Your hosts are William Bernhardt, best-selling novelist and author of the Red Sneaker books on writing, and Laura Bernhardt, award-winning author of the Wantland Files book series.
Hey writers, this week Laura and Jesse and I are going to take a break, but to fill the interim period, we're going to share with you an episode from our favorite new podcast put on by a couple of our dear friends, Laurel Thomas and Kat Lewis, both of whom you may have seen at WriterCon. Well, for that matter, they'll both be on the WriterCon cruise, so we know them very well, and this podcast is terrific. It's called Stories That Change Us, and every time they discuss great stories, great books, and the impact they have. And the episode we're going to share with you, which I chose, is on The Princess Bride, because The Princess Bride by William Goldman, I'm talking about the book, is one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. I know some of you have seen the movie. If you haven't, read the book first. But
Some people have seen the movie?
Yes. You're going to hear them talk about comparing the two. And all I can say is you're probably going to like best whichever one you encountered first in life. But the book is very different from the movie, though both very amusing. And so here's this sample episode from this wonderful new podcast, Stories That Change Us. And we'll be back with more writer news and interviews next time.
You are listening to the Stories That Change Us podcast, a lively podcast that analyzes timeless and trendy fiction as we seek to understand what it is about these stories that light our souls on fire. Join Laurel, Melissa, Micah, and Kat, authors representing the generations, as we uncover the elements, arcs, and heart that make these novels both transcendent and necessary.
Welcome to the Stories That Change Us podcast. I'm Micah Lydorf, and I am here with my writer friends,
Laurel Thomas,
Kat Lewis,
Melissa Grace,
and on this fifth episode, we are talking about everybody's favorite, The Princess Bride.
Woo!
Woo! Now, The Princess Bride is a little bit different because the movie adaptation was vastly more popular than the book. But, I mean, a lot of us may not even known, oh, wait, that was a real book, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of an interesting story because it's kind of not only is it, oh, wait, there's a real book, but then the book is a pretend adaptation of a longer book that's actually fictional. So it gets a little bit convoluted, but I've loved the book. I mean, I've loved the movie forever, and I've never read the book. So this was my first time to read it. How about you guys?
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so none of us had actually read the book before.
No.
Okay, well, what were your first impressions?
I mean, I walked into this with a distinct feeling of dread because I remember somebody distinctly telling me that The Princess Bride is boring. And once I kind of acclimated myself, I actually thought that I was reading the wrong book for the first 15 pages because there's so much story set up of, the author, and he was never impressive in school, and then he writes this book, and this was the book that his dad was reading him. I legit was like, did I freaking buy the wrong? This is a $25 incorrect copy.
And well, you can't believe everything everybody tells you, especially when they say something's boring. It reminds me of those 1-star reviews of the Grand Canyon, or it's like, really? Like they thought The Princess Bride was boring? What did they want?
Seriously.
How about you, Laurel? What were your first impressions?
Well, from a novelist point of view, I thought, this is tropey.
Oh, my goodness.
Yay,
yes.
Because tropes are good. And he's unashamed with his tropes.
Just throwing them in there.
Oh, it's just so lovely.
The more the better.
Okay, Laurel, you're using some literary jargon there. For our non-writer listeners, can you tell us what is a trope?
So a trope is like a universal. It's a universal emotional appeal. So, the dashing young man who lays down his life for a damsel in distress. That's a trope. Like, and Fezzik, the giant. Well, we love him, but why do we love him? Because he's a trope. He is a big guy who doesn't think that he has a brain, and he ends up saving the day. And, they're fun, but as many as you can get into your novel, it brings a universal emotional appeal.
Awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that.
No
That's
problem.
part of what we do here at Stories That Change Us is we kind of dissect these stories that we love. We have this visceral attraction, right, to Princess Bride. I mean, I love that there's something for everyone, right? Like, I think it's great. My girlfriends think it's great, but I can show it to my little 8 and 7-year-old boys, and they love it. And now they're 17 and 18 and they still love it. So it's great to kind of dissect and find out, okay, what exactly is it about these stories that is appealing to us? So you, Melissa, have not yet shared your first impressions. We got Kat's and Laurel's, but how about you, Melissa?
I had just a little minute where I was like, okay, are Flora and Gilda, are they real?
Oh my gosh.
You're probably not the only one, but it's brave of you to admit it.
It was like, there are little countries in Europe that I'm not really familiar with. So it was just a flash. It was just a second. But it was there. I have to admit, it was there.
Brave.
In your defense, Melissa, the author really does kind of prep you, talking about this is a fictional retelling of an actual fiction story that some, Slavic author wrote. I really was like, I need to go back and look at my European maps from the 1950s.
And do you don't read fantasy much?
No, I don't,
Yeah.
actually.
Because it has